أهلا وسهلا فيكم، يسعد أوقاتكم بكل الخير ببودكاست سفير للتعليم العالي، اللي هو مساحة حوارية مفتاحها امتداد للنقاشات اللي بدأت بمؤتمر سفير بأيلول الماضي بسوريا، وهي محاولة منا من خلال هذا البودكاست لمنح أفكار والأسئلة الوقت اللي بتستحقه بعيدا عن قيود الجلسات الزمنية. بهذا البودكاست بالعادة رح نتحاور مع أكاديميين وباحثين وصناع قرار لنفكر مع بعض بدور التعليم العالي في التحول المجتمعي وبناء المستقبل، وبالأسئلة اللي غالبا ما بتلاقي طريقها للنقاش العلني. اليوم احنا بحلقتنا الثانية ببودكاست سفير، وهذه الحلقة رح تكون مميزة لأنه عنا ضيفة مميزة، ورح تكون الحلقة باللغة الإنجليزية. ضيفتنا هي السيدة كلوديا غاربرز من الهيئة الألمانية للتبادل الأكاديمي DAAD. كلوديا هي مختصة بمنطقة الشرق الأوسط وشمال أفريقيا بفضل خلفيتها بالدراسات الإسلامية من جامعة بون، تجمع بين خبرة أكاديمية عميقة وخبرة عملية بإدارة برامج المنح الدراسية ومبادرات التعاون الأكاديمي. تعمل حالياً كمسؤولة برامج أولى في قسم الشرق الأوسط وشمال أفريقيا، حيث تنسق برامج المنح الدراسية وبتنظم ندوات للطلاب والباحثين من الشرق الأوسط وشمال أفريقيا وأفغانستان وباكستان. بالسنوات الأخيرة شاركت بزيارات للتعليم العالي لتونس والأردن وباكستان ولبنان، مما ساعد على تعزيز الشراكات الأكاديمية وتوسيع الفرص بالبرامج الحالية والمستقبلية. وفي الآونة الأخيرة شاركت كلوديا في تنفيذ مبادرات أكاديمية إضافية للسوريين والفلسطينيين، مع التركيز على إعادة بناء قطاع التعليم العالي. هيئة التبادل الأكاديمي الألماني الدااد كانت أحد أهم الشركاء بمؤتمر سفير، والشراكة مستمرة إن شاء الله في مؤتمرات القادمة. البودكاست طبعا رح يكون تفاعلي، ففيكم تكتبوا أسئلتكم من خلال التعليقات حسب القناة اللي أنتم عم تشوفوا من خلال البودكاست. فيكم تكتبوا باللغة العربية أو باللغة الإنجليزية. وبيسعدني بهذه الحلقة أنه أرحب بزميلي وشريكي بإدارة هذا البودكاست دكتور هاني حرب. تفضل هاني.
شكرا جزيلا دكتور فادي. هلا اليوم نحن البودكاست تبعنا رح يكون باللغة الإنجليزية، فرح نعمل هلا سويتش. So welcome to Safir podcast, Claudia. This is our second episode today. It's gonna be in English, and I will introduce Claudia a little bit for everyone who is online with us today. So Claudia works with the German Academic Exchange Service, the DAAD, in Bonn. She specializes in Middle East and North African studies and regions. She has a background in Islamic studies from the University of Bonn, and she brings a unique blend of deep academic expertise and practical experience in managing scholarship programs, academic collaboration, and student seminars and researchers from the Middle East. She has worked in multiple countries on multiple programs from Middle East, North Africa, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. Recently, she participated in multiple education visits in Tunisia, Jordan, Pakistan, Lebanon, which helped strengthen the academic partnership. And in the last year or so, she's been involved more in programs related to Syrians and Palestinians, with a focus on rebuilding the higher education sector. So welcome, Claudia. It's really nice to have you with us today. I give it back to Fadi. Let's start.
All right. Welcome again, Claudia. We are very happy to have you actually with us here today. I would like to start by asking kind of a general question about the role of DAAD, because, you know, once people hear the word DAAD, associate this mainly with scholarships. So how would you describe DAAD's broader role in shaping higher education systems and academic cooperation?
Yeah, thank you so much. First of all, good evening, and thank you for the very kind introduction and also for having me on your podcast. It's my pleasure to be here today. And regarding your first question, the DAAD was founded in 1925, as you might know, and it started as a student initiative to promote academic exchange or mobility. But later on, it also expanded, and when it was refounded in 1950 in Bonn, and it also has many networks today, regional offices, information centers all over the world. It plays a very important role and is a key intermediary in very many areas nowadays. We are also focusing on advising and on networking, not only on funding. We are trying to foster capacity building, to foster institutional partnerships. And yes, I believe this already shows that there's much more about the DAAD than just individual exchange, but which is, of course, also very important.
Great. I know from my experience working in Syria before, like between 2005 and 2013, especially the office was established in Syria in 2005. And now we see a very nice comeback of DAAD to Syria. So I'd like to ask you about when DAAD usually engages in fragile or post-conflict contexts. What are the principles that guide your decisions between supporting individuals, institutions, or wider academic ecosystems?
Yes, I believe it's very important to have a balance between all of these target entities or groups, because you cannot only fund individuals and neglect, for example, institutional collaborations. It's important to have a balance here, because regarding Syria, for example, we have damage to Syrian universities. The infrastructure must be rebuilt. So this is like a physical thing. But we also have the problem that we have internal structures which must be modernized, for example, regarding curricula, regarding digitization, talking about e-learning, for example, or open access to digital resources. Just an example, but of course also individuals are affected. So it's not only students, but also academic staff, many of them living in exile now, as in like building the Syrian diaspora. And yes, I believe it's important to support all of these entities so that we have multiple effects, which also intensify and accelerate the reconstruction process.
Great. From your organization's perspective, what distinguishes a short-term academic intervention from a strategically sustainable one?
Yes, I think also from context, post-conflict context that we had before, for example, Afghanistan, we know that in the beginning it's important to implement measures that are direct, easy to apply, so that we can just start something, for example, conducting or offering summer schools or short-term research stays in Germany. And these necessarily there mustn't be, of course, they can also be sustainable in a way that people get into touch with each other and they're connecting, maybe building networks. But in the long term, of course, it's also important to have sustainable measures. For example, multi-year projects, or for example, long-term lecturers going to the respective country for teaching, for example, or also by building infrastructure. Like, for example, in North Iraq, we have the Institute for Psychotherapy at the University of Dohuk. And this is something I believe is important. But of course also requires a longer preparatory phase, and also certain conditions must be met, for example, safety related, or also in form of the political regulations, for example, regarding sanctions.
Yeah, I believe this topic is very complicated, and it involves a lot of layers you have to deal with. I would allow me now to go maybe a little bit to the relation between DAAD and what we have done last year, Safir. So, there was this initiative, I think, that started by the SFK, led by Dr. Hani. And the idea was collecting or gathering the academics from Syria, inside Syria and outside Syria, bring them together and talk about the reform of higher education after the fall of the Assad regime. So from your position at the DAAD, how do you currently understand the role of international academic cooperation in countries emerging from conflict, such as Syria?
Yes, first of all, let me say, I think that at the DAAD, we believe it's very great, this kind of initiative, Safir, and that we really see this commitment both from the Syrian academic diaspora, but also like on-site from representatives in Syria. And this is something which we would also really like to support. And regarding international academic cooperation, of course, it's important to have knowledge transfer. So, for example, bringing together the Syrian diaspora and Syrians on site, just like it happens through Safir, for example, your conference that you had last September in Damascus. And on the other side, I believe an important keyword here is science diplomacy, because bringing people together, discussing future ideas regarding reconstruction is also always a way to strengthen international cooperation. And it's actually even much more than academia. It's more also on a maybe diplomatic level, and also helping where maybe politics might reach, or political dialogue might reach its limits. So I believe this is also a way of science diplomacy.
Yeah, I like this science diplomacy. And so, I mean, when the initiative started, we contacted you, and you were very helpful in organizing and even funding and supporting this gathering, Safir. And obviously now, from what you've said, as DAAD, I think you are satisfied with the results of what happened at Safir, and you think this was a good initiative that was done by DAAD. I think we agree on this. But may I just dive a little bit deeper and ask, like, what the values and objectives that did really align with DAAD, just so we and our audience would understand your, let's say, view as DAAD, and then to maybe plan for future cooperations.
Yes, sure. I think, and this was also a great outcome of your conference paper that you created. I think there are many objectives that align also with our policies. For example, fostering globalization and research, looking into innovation, and yes, also modernization, of course, of the higher education sector. So I think that these are exactly also the objectives that we see regarding the reconstruction process. And I think what I already said, what is very good about Safir, that is very inclusive. It's bringing together different communities living and working nowadays in different countries, but this is a forum bringing all together. I think I also saw it was not, for example, only the Syrian Science Council, which was founded by our Syrian alumni from the Leadership for Syria program, but also I think there was a UK Syrian association. So I believe this is like on a very international level. And I also really liked something that you said in the paper back then, that this is also a way that we need intelligent reconstruction, so that education, research, and innovation is a form of intellectual or intelligent, is an intelligent foundation for the reconstruction process.
All right, great. Actually, the first contact between you and me was in the preparation, since I participated at Safir conference through email, but we then personally met last October, I think, when we met to discuss or among others, like the leadership program that was supported for, I think, starting 2014. So please allow us to move to talk about this program, and I invite Hani to take over and start the questions there. Please, Hani.
Yeah, thank you so much, Fadi, and thanks a lot, Claudia, for the nice dive into what we have done in Safir before. And I think this connects beautifully to the Leadership for Syria program. At that time, I think between 2015 and 2021, you brought together around 220 Syrian academics from diverse disciplines and institutions. And in October, when we met Fadi, we met in the Arab Science Symposium in Mainz, if I'm not mistaken. And at that point, we had as well a Leadership for Syria alumni meeting the day before. We had a very nice discussion. So my question, what does DAAD think about leveraging such a group beyond the program itself? We did this alumni meeting, but how it can go beyond that?
Yes, first of all, I think it also was a great meeting in Mainz last year, as you said, of the LFSR, the Leadership for Syria Alumni for Reconstructing Syria, which was like the first event before the second Arab Science Symposium in Germany. And yes, the program was highly successful. Some of us even say it was maybe the most successful scholarship program that we had so far, because we had about 5,000 applications. We had a selection process in many neighboring countries of Syria, and in the end, we could award 221 scholarships to bachelor, master, and PhD candidates, mostly of them master candidates. And they are pursuing successful careers nowadays, both in academia but also in the public sector. And yes, I think what was special about this program that they also attended a socio-political accompanying program at the University of Constance. They were focusing on democratic understanding of society, for example, or transformation and sustainable economic policy. So this was already a kind of measure or initiative to train them as leaders for key positions for the future of Syria regarding a potential reconstruction process. And I think what is also impressive that they were already organizing themselves in such associations, also in the Syrian Science Council that I mentioned before, but also now as part of such conferences or workshops, and that they're already focusing on very important topics that are needed for the reconstruction process. And they are also teaching online, for example, or some of them also personally travel to Syria to get into contact with Syrian universities. So there's already a lot of exchange. There's already a lot of networking. And I think this is something which should be also supported in the future to even have more of this kind of networking and to further support them in this regard.
Thank you so much. So all these activities that you have mentioned, it seems to me that they are more of a very, let's say, individualistic approaches. Is there any idea or follow-up mechanisms that you would like to implement more to transform this into a more of an institutional impact? You mentioned the Syrian Science Council, which is partly built from Leadership for Syria alumni. The DSFG has as well a lot of LFS alumni as well. There are other organizations which have as well alumni, but how can we build something more of an institutional impact in Syria itself?
Yes, so I think starting from such networks and associations that we mentioned, it's important to maybe also implement further initiatives, just for example, like how can we actually create a capacity building? What is exactly needed? And by this, maybe this is also something which we'll talk about later, but we are thinking about implementing a program for short-term stays for the Syrian diaspora living and working in Germany nowadays, to go to Syria and to get into contact with Syrian higher education institutions for a brief period between 2 weeks and 3 months. So this would be something to build upon. And I believe that in the future, this will ultimately also lead to institutional partnerships and collaborations.
Okay, no, this looks great. I want to have directly a follow-up question. So if we're looking 5 years from now, how would you define success of this program in contributing in Syria's rebuilding efforts?
Yes, I think success would mean that we have even stronger networks, that we have sustainable collaboration initiatives, for example, between Syrian and German universities, that there is a strong knowledge transfer taking place, maybe even more teaching involvement, and maybe also passing on these leadership skills that they are obtained during their own time with the DAAD, also to other Syrians, so that they could also benefit from it. And yes, so that we can create stronger networks and stronger partnerships.
I want to let's say zoom out a bit and discuss the context of post-conflict areas. Do you see these leadership programs and these capacity building programs still relevant? Because after Leadership for Syria, I think there was a Leadership for Africa. Maybe it was before or after directly, something like that. But was there anything new, or is these programs still relevant or even more urgent than before?
Yes, I think at that time it was very relevant, the Leadership for Syria program. And as you mentioned, the Leadership for Africa program is also kind of similar to this one, a little bit different for Sub-Saharan Africa. But nevertheless, I believe leadership skills are always required at all time. But I think now that we are already maybe like emerging into this post-conflict context or era, it's important to already have these kind of leadership skills and now to implement them and use them, like what they have obtained during the accompanying program or course, that they can now use it and transfer or use it for capacity building, so that we have this kind of transfer. But of course, I can imagine that also in other contexts in the future, it might be useful to have other leadership programs for sure.
Well, I want to zoom out a bit, and before zooming out, there is one question that we got. It says, how does the DAAD facilitate and nominate Syrian students to enable them to complete their higher education through scholarships like Leadership for Syria, especially considering challenges from their location in Syria?
Yes, actually, we besides the Leadership for Syria program, we always also offer regular master's scholarships and doctoral programs for Syrians to apply so that they can study or research in Germany. Actually, the number of applications is also very high. Syria is in our section, Middle East of Africa, also including Afghanistan and Pakistan, as you mentioned in the beginning. Syria is ranking on the 3rd place regarding the number of applications. And in the past, it was even more than 200 every year. I think now this year we had around about 150 for this intake. And I think it shows that there's a lot of interest from Syrian students or researchers to go abroad and to go to Germany and to study and research here. And this is very much supported from our side. And yes, of course, we know that sometimes it's difficult also regarding the visa process, for example. But in the end, so far, as I know, our students or our scholarship holders always made it successfully to Germany. And of course, we're always there and trying to support them as much as we can.
Thank you so much. I will give back to Fadi right now to continue. You're still mute.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Hani, and thank you, Claudia, for this information. Actually, now I would like to talk about the relationship between the DAAD and Syrian higher education institutions. But let me also, because whenever I have to, or whenever I talk about this topic, I mean, I have to tell a little bit of history, because I was involved in this process when the DAAD office was opened first time in Syria 2005. And here I would like maybe to extend regards to Dr. Jürgen Werner, who established it there for the first 3 years, and then Dr. Ekehard Schuka, who continued the work in the office. And actually, maybe between 2005 and 2010, this was the golden era of cooperation between Syrian higher education institutions and DAAD. DAAD was always there, and it was supporting all of our projects. And I think we had even many conferences talking about Bologna process. And one of the great fruits of the cooperation was a joint master degree between Damascus University and Marburg University. I mean, it was really a great era at that time. And as I said, DAAD has become very popular and very lovable by everyone in Syria. By the way, me, myself, I'm an DAAD alumni. I got my PhD scholarship from DAAD. Yes. So therefore, now I'd like to ask you about, we had all this war, conflict between 2011 and 2024. And now we're trying to rebuild the country, and a lot of opportunities are arising. So how does DAAD currently assess the potential for renewed or expanded cooperation between German and Syrian higher education institutions?
Yes, first of all, I didn't know that you're an alumnus. That's great to hear. So yes, we regard the potential very high for renewing partnerships, institutional partnerships between Syria and Germany. This is also something which we are currently working on to implement a project to invite German universities to reach out to Syrian universities to initiate activities, for example, regarding curricular reform, regarding modernization, making sure that the graduates are employable, for example, so on different levels and areas and different areas. And yes, for now, regarding the security situation in Syria, we are thinking about conducting these kind of meetings or this project in neighboring countries, for example, in Lebanon, Egypt, or Jordan. For example, we have a long-standing cooperation with the German Jordanian University, so this might be one partner to be included into such projects. Yes, so we believe that this would be the start to make sure that there is again a way to introduce partnerships between Syrian and German universities, because as you've already mentioned, it was until the start of the war, there was high potential and there were strong partnerships. And yes, we hope that, of course, this will work out and in the long term also maybe result in aspects like joint programs, for example, joint study programs, and also other activities.
All right. I mean, and have you also considered having kind of these same meetings also in Germany, like bringing Syrian academics to Germany to visit their counterparts in the German universities?
To be honest, I'm not sure about this, but I think not in the moment. But I think this is actually quite a good idea to also think about bringing Syrian academics to Germany. So it also would establish a dialogue.
Yeah, I think you talked maybe a little bit about this, and also from the question that Lubana asked about maybe visa issues. Also, I mean, hopefully this would, I mean, I don't know whether DAAD has any, let's say, a role in facilitating the visa issues for the Syrian academics. Would that be anything that you can help with?
We are usually trying to help regarding the visa issuance, but of course, the final decision always lies with the German embassy in the respective country. I believe for Syrians in the past, they were always traveling to a third country, like in Lebanon, Beirut, or Amman in Jordan, in order to apply for the visa, and which of course makes it more difficult to have a third country involved, so to speak. But yes, we are trying to help as much as we can, but the final decision, of course, doesn't lie with us.
All right. So maybe we talked a little bit before the war about the forms of cooperation, but now, I mean, DAAD has done maybe a lot in the region, and you have accumulated a lot of experiences. So what forms of cooperation do you now consider most realistic and impactful, like with tangible results in the near term, like mobility or joint curricula, institutional partnership, research collaboration? I mean, any of these things. And also, maybe something that we have realized, whether in Safir conference and in the other initiatives that we are participating in, is sometimes we need to have a strategy, or we lack that strategy, like what should we be doing first? So from your experience, what do you think any of these maybe ideas would have tangible results in the short term?
Yes, in the short term, I think these are the two aspects that were already discussed today. So the mobility, I believe, is very important because it's an easy way to bring people together and to start a dialogue, and then in the long term to make it possible to have sustainable cooperation and networks. And on the other hand, of course, institutional cooperation. So to make sure that not only individuals get together, but also institutions. And then the other aspects that you mentioned, for example, joint programs, would maybe come out of it as a result later on. Yes, so this would be a way to start something and to have short-term results.
All right. We have received a nice comment from our friend Hussein. Good evening, Hussein. So hoping that their office in Syria will reopen soon, allowing us to benefit from the workshops, training programs, and support it provides, similar to its offices in other countries. Yeah, we hope so. And I think even the leadership at DAAD hopes for the same thing. Thank you, Hussein. And maybe talking about this, I would like to ask you about the risks or challenges that you need to address to ensure that such cooperation is equitable, sustainable, and beneficial for both sides.
Yes, I think especially now in the Syrian context, it's important to look out for especially two things. It's the political stability, which of course is very important, so that measures that are implemented can be conducted and are also fruitful and sustainable. And on the other hand, we have still ongoing UN and EU sanctions, which also sometimes make it difficult regarding corporations, especially like when finances are involved. But of course, we hope that we can tackle these obstacles, and that also there will be a strong and stable security situation in Syria, so that we can implement the measures that I have also already introduced. And maybe something what we also learned from other post-conflict contexts, like for example Afghanistan in the early 2000s, we tried to focus on many areas regarding academic fields. And we noticed that it's more sustainable to focus on certain disciplines, like, for example, medicine, public health, civil engineering, and information technology. So that these are the fields that are at the moment most relevant for the reconstruction process. And that when you implement measures, for example, institutional partnerships, that there should be like multi-year projects. Of course, it always depends on the funding and the overall situation, but to make it more sustainable, it should be also running for a longer period. And yes, maybe regarding like the coordination process, something also what we have maybe learned from the past, it should be coordinated. So it's not helpful, like if the DAAD, for example, is doing something and another organization is doing exactly the same. So it's useful to coordinate this on a national level, for example, together among others with the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation, then on a European level, maybe like with different stakeholders. And also on an international level. For example, there's the Union for the Mediterranean, which of course includes the countries, most of them directly next to the Mediterranean Sea, but also, for example, the Gulf states. So that it's a useful matter to be involved with different partners and stakeholders to make sure that we are reconstructing together and not being in competition, of course, and of course not focusing on the same things, but that we are complementing each other.
But I mean, just follow up on what you're saying. I mean, realistically speaking, I mean, when you are talking about this coordination, maybe at the national level, when we talk about Germany, I even see here some challenges in coordinating, but when you go further to the EU and then the international, I mean, how can you really coordinate something like this? And would the Syrian academics have any role in this coordination, or in maybe, I mean, I'm just trying to think loud now. Is it, can we also help if we build something like strategy, we provide you, I mean, this was not very clear. How do you coordinate this, these efforts, let's say?
Yes, I think you also said something important, of course, not mentioned here yet, or not in this context now, but the Syrian diaspora and also the Syrian academics in their home country are a very important part of this, because it makes most sense to include them, to get their ideas, not only from our alumni, but also from the DSFG, from university, and also other organizations, to get their ideas, because you're already hands-on on all of these aspects, like what is important for the reconstruction process. And so this must be, of course, included in any case. And then, I think such forums like Safir, or also the conference in Mainz last year, which I believe will take place this year in Cologne, as I've seen. So I think these are all very useful forums to get together and to discuss exactly this. And I think last year in Mainz also we had invited the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation, or you had invited the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation. So this is already a good starting point, and maybe we can go even bigger from this to include more partners to discuss this together.
Can I jump in just a second? So next year we're planning actually to have the Erasmus as well on board. So as you said, we're going bigger to the European level to include more partners in Cologne's meeting next year. Yeah.
Great. I have a question here from Muhammad. Maybe this is a question for a topic we just talked about a few minutes ago, about the scholarship. So his question is there an increase in the number of Syrian individuals specifically applying for scholarships, to the best of your knowledge?
To the best of my knowledge, I think it's, of course, always changing. It's not always a stable number. There was not a specific increase for this year, I believe. And accordingly, the number of scholarships always depends on the budget from, in this case, from the Federal Foreign Office. So, of course, this also might have an influence on like how it's received in Syria, like when they see like that we have maybe less scholarships like we had last year, then maybe it also influences the number of applications. And this year we have a higher number of scholarships. So, of course, we hope that this has a positive effect on the future applications.
Great. I mean, as of curiosity, I mean, I just thought, do you have any idea about the successful visa applications from these applications?
To my knowledge, all of the scholarship holders that were selected obtained successfully their visa.
Oh, this is good. This is good news.
Yes.
All right. So actually, you talked about the post-conflict, and you talked about the DAAD's experience in other countries and other regions in the world. And now, if we're talking specifically about the Syrian situation, I think we always get the question, what are the initiatives that if we apply, we increase the percentage of being accepted, kind of initiative or an idea or an application. So from your point of view, or from the DAAD point of view, what types of academic initiatives would DAAD be most likely to support in a post-conflict country? And of course, here talking about specifically Syria.
Yes, I think this is also some of them I've already mentioned, like we want to increase mobility and we want to increase institutional partnerships. So on the individual level, we have these kind of short-term program for people living and working in Germany from academia, but also from the public sector. And especially we would like to focus on the Syrian academic diaspora to go to Syria, for example, between 2 weeks and 3 months to conduct teaching or consulting assignments. to strengthen networks and also to support knowledge transfer, of course. Then we have the idea of offering teaching courses or further measures from the DAAD Cairo Academy. For example, half-day courses or for an entire day, which rather is like a short-term measure, but we try to have these courses, for example, on-site in Egypt or in neighboring countries of Syria, or maybe in the future also in Syria itself, or at least they could also take place online, and they are rather focusing on the Syrian academic staff, university members. And on the individual level, of course, we also have our alumni community that we also want to further support, as we had also this collaboration already last year regarding the Damascus conference of Safir, and also the conference in Mainz. And also for this year, we would like to support further networking. And on the institutional level, we would like to have, as I said, the German universities to outreach to Syrian universities, to get into contact, to discuss future important matters for the future of Syria, especially regarding the higher education sector, of course, for example, curricular reform, modernization, digitization, capacity building, and so on. And yes, of course, we hope that in the future it also can be conducted in Syria, also maybe in neighboring countries for now, like Lebanon, Egypt, and Jordan. Yes, and of course, what is also important that there is a focus on certain academic areas or research fields, for example, like I said, medicine, public health, civil engineering, so that we really focus on topics that are relevant for the reconstruction process. Yes, and perhaps another idea to also have some kind of fact-finding missions. I'm not sure how far we are in this regard, but which is also like kind of similar way to get people together. Yes, so we have quite lots of ideas for this year, and we hope that we can implement them all, and especially that we can also implement them soon.
Well, thank you very much. This was very, very rich and informative. And what you've said actually raised a few questions, extra questions that I'd like to ask. I mean, I will start maybe from the end when you said the subject or topics, and you mentioned medicine and engineering, everything about reconstruction. And we always say in our culture that the reconstruction starts with the human before the stone. So is there any place for the humanities in what your priorities, I would say?
Yes, I think maybe priorities is the yes. Priorities maybe is the right word here, because the subjects that I mentioned are our priorities for now, but it doesn't exclude maybe also other fields of like academic fields in the future. Just maybe something what I said, what we also learned from the Afghanistan context, that we cannot start with all fields like regarding research areas at the same time at once. But I believe in the future, of course, this also might be something that we consider, and which is, of course, also very important.
Can I jump in
sure.
here? Because I as well, what all these initiatives that you mentioned raise as well so many questions in my head. And one of them is more concrete. Like, can you tell us a bit? Probably there would be a lot of scholars and academics here listening to us, and they're working in various German universities. What should they do? What should they do actually if they want to initiate any German-Syrian university dialogue? Like, for example, for me, like, should I go directly to my rector of my university, the president of the university, and ask them, like, we would like to initiate something? Is there something that is like already built, like some kind of a process that we should follow to initiate this dialogue between and this collaboration and cooperation between Syrian and German universities?
Hani, as if you read the question out of my paper.
Yes, as you know, I'm rather coming from the scholarship department of the DAAD, but like from what I know, we have our homepage and with information for German higher education institutions, and we always publish our projects there. So perhaps also this new project will be published there, and otherwise, of course, we will also inform you where to find it, because you are one of our strongest partners in this regard regarding the reconstruction process. So, of course, we would make advertisement for this. And yes, I'm not sure if the rector has to be included in this process. But maybe for understanding why I always say inviting German universities, because the DAAD usually starts with a project application from a German university, and then also the Syrian partner can be included. But this doesn't mean, of course, that Syrian universities could not also contact German universities that they can envision as a partner in the future. So Syrian universities can also reach out to German universities, get in contact, and then they together submit their application for the project.
All right. May I ask another question that actually it came to me privately now about the courses you mentioned in Cairo. So the question actually has two folds. The first is, would you please tell us a little bit more about these courses and what are they about, and how can Syrian academics participate in such courses? And the second fold of the question is, maybe you are aware of the situation of the Egyptian government, that they're not allowing any Syrian to enter Egypt nowadays, even Syrians who have residences in Europe. This was the question. I mean, I don't know whether you're aware. I mean, I know this, but maybe just to explain to us a little bit more about these courses in Cairo, and how can the Syrian academics participate in them, and whether this current situation of the Egyptian government might make the DAAD move these courses maybe to Lebanon or Jordan.
Yes, regarding the second part, the visa issue, I think this is exactly what we were also thinking about, like how can we resolve this issue? And that's why we were thinking to have these courses online in the beginning, or in a hybrid format, so that part of it would be online, or in neighboring countries, like you mentioned, for example, Lebanon. Yes, my colleagues of the DAAD Cairo regional office are involved in this, so they can also surely give further information about this in the future. And regarding the courses themselves, it's especially also about capacity building, like how can we modernize governance structures at the universities, also, for example, about equality, how to make sure that students also get access from all fields. So this is just a very general and broad field. And from what I know, we also, for example, offered such courses in the past for Sudan, also coming from a conflict area. And I think it was successful. So I hope that we will also find suitable courses, yes, for faculty members.
All right. Maybe my last question in that field is, do you think when also initiatives ideas are coming from the Syrian academics to German universities or to DAAD, how important is it for these initiatives to combine academic goals with societal impact, employability, and maybe institutional reform? Is that an added value to the initiative itself?
Yes, I think it's very important, because academic excellence alone, I think, will not be sufficient to rebuild the Syrian higher education sector. It has to be combined with what does the Syrian society actually need, what does the Syrian labor market actually need. And yes, I think there are many points that have to be considered. The disparity between, like, for example, what study programs are currently focusing on in Syria, and what is actually needed for the Syrian economy. And then, of course, also like what models do we need to keep students enrolled? For example, if Syrians are working, like can we implement part-time programs or blended models, or for example, online courses? So these are all factors that have to be considered when we're talking about our initiatives. And I think this is also something what we can learn from you, like what you have discussed also during the Safir conference in Damascus last year. And last but not least, but also very important, universities are also always serving as places for social reconciliation and social cohesion, to make sure that there's like tolerance and coexistence possible. And I think this is also a very important role of the Syrian higher education institutions, which also should be considered in the overall reconstruction process.
All right, thank you very much. There is this question, I don't know whether it is clear to you, like if you had the opportunity to add value to the scholarships, what would it be?
Yes,
like in a financial way, or how is it meant?
Some kind of an add-on, maybe. I don't know. Like for example, the Leadership for Syria had this master in conflict resolution. That was this cherry on top beyond the scientific side of the scholarship, which was an added value.
Yes.
Something like that.
Of course, I think like if we had the budget and if we had the opportunity to have such socio-political accompanying programs for all of our scholarship holders, we would really like to implement it. So this, of course, would be an added value at this point. Yes, and of course, anything that can foster and encourage further exchange also beyond the scholarship and what we already offer through seminars, scholarship holders meetings. I think all of these measures would be useful and helpful to add further value.
Another question we received maybe concerning the topic we've been talking about. Will we be seeing funding opportunities by DAAD for researchers in Germany to apply research projects inside Syria?
Yes, maybe this can be seen like both ways for the individual funding, but also for institutional corporations. So that if you are working or researching in Germany and you would like to go to Syria to conduct, for example, teaching or consulting assignments, this would be a way to also maybe further implement projects. I mean, the project itself would not be directly funded by the DAAD of this part. This would be maybe at a later stage after the institutional cooperations are established between Syrian and German universities. But I think this is something which could be envisioned for the future.
All right, thank you very much, Hani. I give you the floor again to continue with another topic.
Thank you so much, Fadi. I want to zoom out again, like go beyond the Syrian context and go back in time. DAAD is this year, I think it's 100 years old.
101.
Exactly. So, this year, it was 2025, right? So it's 101 years old. So it already established before the Second World War. And Germany has its own post-war experience in rebuilding higher education and research systems. So what lessons from that period do you think could be relevant for the Syrian context today?
Yeah, this is actually an interesting question because I'm sure that also Germany had to face problems after the end of the war regarding the higher education sector that are also faced by Syria today. So, for example, the destruction of buildings of universities, there had to be reconstruction in this regard. Which, of course, in Germany was also supported by the Allied powers in West Germany, by the US, Great Britain, and France, and then East Germany by the Soviet Union. Something also which was relevant for both Germanys, so to speak. And another important part was to make sure that there's academic freedom. At least this was established in West Germany, and taking place in both in East and West Germany was the denazification process to make sure that also the academic staff, is not related anymore to the time and to the ideas which were relevant during the wartime. Yes, I think this is important. And as you know, Germany consists of 16 federal states nowadays. And also in the past, there was taking place decentralization during the reconstruction process. But later on, it was also the states, at least West Germany, also tried to make sure that there are also that there's a ministry nowadays also known as the Federal Ministry of Research, Technology, and Aerospace, so that there's also a consistent planning for how a higher education should look like. And I think throughout the decades, the number of students was rising. And after the reunion, there was even a higher number of students. And something maybe which was what was also important directly after the end of the war, going back to 1945, is that many academic staff were actually living in exile. So they were not on site. Some of them were coming back. But of course, there was brain drain. And I think this is also something relevant for all countries emerging from conflict, to make sure that they have enough teaching staff. Because I believe also in Syria, the number of students is rising, despite also having, of course, a dropout rate. So in this regard, capacity building, of course, is also important. And I think this is something what is also important for Syria, to make sure that there's academic freedom, to have the reconstruction, the physical reconstruction of buildings, and also to have mobility and capacity building, and to foster international exchange. So the DAAD, as I said in the beginning, was refounded in 1950, the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation in 1953. So this was also helping to have international exchange.
Okay, this is really amazing insights to the history, how this whole organization developed and how it was built, and this whole higher education system. And this takes me to the next question. Like, do you think there are specific elements that are being used currently in the higher education system in Germany that are transferable to Syria, such as governance models, academic freedom, internationalization, for example, funding structures, research culture, like things like that?
Yeah, I think all of the aspects that you mentioned are important and also can surely be transferred. Yes, like you said, academic freedom is important to make sure that there's access for students coming from different areas, for example, urban and rural areas, to make sure that there's internationalization, to reconnect the Syrian higher education sector with the international academic community, that you implement targeted funding structures, and also foster international collaboration by, for example, mobility programs. So all of these things, of course, are important. And yes, so it's research, innovation, and capacity building should be supported.
Thank you so much. I think we're coming closer to the end, and I have one last question. This question we ask all our guests, which is, if you have one message that you would like to send yourself to either the Syrian academics and institutions, or even to the DAAD leadership, thinking about international collaboration in this new phase, what would it be?
Yes, my message would be or is to all Syrian academics and also institutions that it's impressive already how much resilience and ambition they showed throughout the war, despite all of these challenging circumstances, and that they are also now showing all of this commitment that we are seeing here in Germany from the Syrian academic diaspora, but also from what I hear and see in Syria itself. And I think this is really relevant for having a successful and sustainable reconstruction process. And we as the DAAD would also like to further support this so that the Syrian community as a whole can reach this goal. And yes, we are very pleased to be in collaboration with you.
Thank you so much. We're as well very, very happy and excited about the previous and the future collaborations with the DAAD. I think there is so much to achieve, and I think we have the opportunity to really transform the Syrian higher education to the better. I think we're coming to the end, Fadi. I will give it back to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Hani, and thank you very much, Claudia. Actually, yes, I would say maybe if this represents what people feel in Syria, I know it from since when I was there. DAAD has a special place in the Syrians' heart, especially after the very successful relation and support that we got during the last 2 decades. And when you discuss with Hani also the leadership program, I mean, when I met the graduates of this program, I was impressed with the results and with what these people can do. And now we are so grateful and happy with all the support that DAAD is giving us in terms of whether it was the Safir for last year and Safir this year and all the initiatives you talked about. So thank you very much to you and to all the DAAD officials and people. We highly appreciate their efforts to help the Syrian academics after this very bad time we had in Syria. And thank you for having you here today, for your time and all the great answers you provided us with. And this was great insight into DAAD and your philosophy and work. And I'd like also to thank all the people who have attended us live and all the people who will be attending this later when we post it on the podcast channels. Claudia, do you want to say anything before we close?
Yes, just that thank you so much for having me. Shukran jazilan. It was very great to be here today and to speak on behalf of the DAAD. And we are looking forward to implementing the measures that were discussed today. And we hope that will be a successful cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you so much as well from my side. And have a nice and enjoyable weekend.
Yes, thank you. You too.
And see you in the next episode next month.
Yes, hopefully.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank
Bye.
you.